All right. Last we talked about that people choose feeling instead of love. And we got into what feelings were. Feeling is thinking. What else is it? If you're feeling,
It's an emotion.
it's an emotion. If you're feeling, are you thinking?
Yeah.
Most likely you have thoughts. I called emotions thoughts with goo, right? And they are. But, so, has anybody moved from there? Has anybody realized that that wasn't what they wanted? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. How many people still think that feeling is everything? Okay. And what's it do? What does feeling do for people?
Keeps their small self in place.
Okay. Is there a difference between the changing of feelings and the changing of sensing? No. Oh, I see this. I hear that. I smell this. I taste that. Oh, I feel this. I feel that. I feel this. I feel that. What's it doing?
They relate to the ego.
It relates to the ego. What?
It keeps you engaged with the outside world.
Keeps you engaged.
Distracting.
It's distracting. Constantly distracting. Go here, go there, go here, go there. So what's love?
Off the grid.
Off the grid.
At this point, for me, it's about power and control.
Okay, I'm not interested in non-answers. Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
Love is a constant.
Love is?
It's the same the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. It's underneath it all.
In truth, I guess it's everything.
Mm-hmm. Everything.
But partly, love must be partly accepting that your feelings are going here and there, mustn't it?
Well, you know, if you have love, you accept what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Are you, and is that who you are?
No.
No, you have feelings that come and go.
Yeah. But just watching it and accepting that they are coming and going, right?
Right. Accepting. If you're fighting it, then are you living in love?
No.
You're actually still where?
Back in the top of your head where we're not trying to be.
Exactly. That's exactly right. If you're fighting where you are, then you are not anywhere near love. So I wrote a couple of things, and I'm going to read. First off, love is our nature. It's our nature. We swim in it. There is no object for this love. There's no object. Why not? Why would there not be an object?
It's pure.
Well, if there's an object, it's not you. Like it's a separate still. So if you do truly love, and if love is our true nature, and not in that we are all one, but we are all one with God. We can't have a separate.
Right, okay.
It reminds me.
Then it also immediately shrinks it to just one thing.
If
and
it's
then
an
it's
object.
shrinking. We always talk about it's shrinking down more to a small self attribute. It's not
Right, it becomes
it's not
limited.
everything. And so if you're saying that God is love and love is everything, if you put it to an object, then you just immediately diminish the whole thing.
Right, it becomes personal.
It's
Right.
twisted. That's
It's
what's
twisted. That's exactly right. That's twisted. Exactly. So I read years ago in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis asked Krishna about love, and he gave different kinds of love. And a lot of them were contractual or the unconditional love of a parent, but it was still, in that sense, twisted in that it's still focused and it's still missing the point. It's not real love. It is the emotional of affection love, which becomes twisted love. Okay? What were you going to say?
Basically the same thing. Also, it's, ultimately there are no objects anyway. So
That's right. So we live in love when we know, and that's with a capital K, that all is us, and we experience no difference from anything else, then it is. All is love. Okay? We are no longer separate, and all is perfect just the way it is. Which goes to what Max you were saying, because you're accepting of everything just the way it is. So I have this character. I wish I was playing this character in the part, in my play rather than that character in the play. No, I'm no longer in that play. Oh, this is the character I'm playing. I'm perfectly happy with this character. I'm fine with this character. It's perfect just the way this character is. And I know I'm not the character. It is not who I am. My nature is love. And I play this character, and I hope I'm playing it so well that everyone else, who is actually me, is actually enjoying it. And so that then, if we're all that way, we can each appreciate, great job today. Really good character today. Nice play. And we all become appreciative, in the truest sense, of our own love. It's all love. Yeah.
So I guess, is that what somebody like C.S. Lewis would say, that it's gift love versus need love? So the gift of love is just, you do nothing, it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Where the other kind of love is always motivated by small self in some form or fashion.
Right. It's
Need.
yes. It's
Need, or
yeah. If you say gift love, yeah, I guess you could do that. I don't understand what he
Love with attachment.
love with attachment. That's when it's personal love. That's need love.
Mm-hmm.
Personal love.
Okay.
And so that then I love you because I've decided this, and this, and this, and you're going to do this, and this, and this, and this.
Where the other love is grace. Is the other love
Grace, yes. It's God graces us to what? To experience and know, in the truest sense of the word, that our nature is who we are. Because if we swim in it, would we experience it necessarily? No.
That's one of the problems that you have to realize as you first practice, is that when you're swimming in your character, you can't necessarily see. It takes someone else to say, hey, this is what you're doing.
You have to disentangle.
Yeah.
We have to disentangle. So there's dualistic, and the use of dualism in order to then get to the non-dualistic state. So I'm going to read something else. Everything comes from love and is love. Once we lose our wrong understanding, we know all is love. Our wrong understanding is that we do not know who we are. Very important. We do not know who we are. We think we know, but we do not. So we think and feel who we are, and that is not who we are. We think and feel who we are, and that is not who we are. It is not until we are who we are by giving up our individuality, that we know who we are, and then know all is perfect because there is nothing that is not love. Is that making sense? There is nothing that is not love. We are the con of consciousness, and then we become the shusness. We move from wrong understanding individual to the Shakti to Shiva. So we move from wrong understanding to the one who is conscious to the one who is shusness. Making sense? We are moving from character to the lover to love itself. That's the direction we're going. Does God love his creation? Absolutely. So he creates loving and objects to love. We then turn around trying to model and play God by trying to be loving of God. Right? We cannot love God until we become God. Why?
Because you won't truly know God.
You won't truly know God, and you won't truly know
Yourself.
love. So we have to sacrifice ourselves in the fire to then emerge as love. God always loves. That is his nature. All is the same. All is love. All. Not God doesn't pick and choose. If it's all God and God's nature is all love, so who is it that picks and chooses? The wrong understanding individual. And so each one of us here will pick and choose something different than anybody else. So we're all always limiting God. And we're all making decisions and deciding which way is perfect. And we all have a different perfect. And it's not until we sacrifice our individuality completely that we get to see and be all is absolutely perfect. And it's love. This making sense? Clear? Getting there? So we have to give up our creation. That's the hard part. That we are so devoted to in order to return to who we really are. This is the hard part. We have played the part of God, or been God who created, and then we forgot that we were, and we jumped into our character, and we have decided this is who we are. We're this individual, that we love it so much. Even we love it so much we hate it. And we hate to love it, and we love to hate it, and we just totally absorbed in it. And I wish I was that character, and I know in this character, and I'm going to change my character. A lot of people work around to change the character. No, your character is your character. and you accept it. This is what I have. I created it. It's perfect, just the way it is. And then I can clean it up, and by giving it up, that's how we clean it up. By giving up our wrong understanding of who we think we are, that character, by letting go, that character starts to get purified and cleaned up. Because, as Dante said, that twisted love, what happens is as we return and we go closer and closer back to truth, that then that twisted love starts to untwist, and it becomes more so that love, true love, so our character then expresses itself naturally as love. So sadhana is the removing of our wrong understanding, and as we keep on doing that, we naturally become who we are, so we will naturally just be love. We're not running around, I'm trying to be loving. That's still the individual. And that's not loving. And for somebody over here, that may look like loving, but somebody over here doesn't. It's not a universal. Loving over here doesn't mean it's loving over here. We're talking about pure love. And keep pulling back. And the more we pull back and disentangle from who we are not. But again, we created it. And we are so devoted to it. And we love it. Attached to it. It's almost like we have to keep on saying, cut! Take a break. We'll come back to the film later. We'll film it later. Cut! And we keep on seeing, we are not the character. So, as I said, so we have to give up our creation that we are so devoted to in order to return to who we really are. This is what God asked of Christ and asks of every one of us. Yet we refuse and remain devoted and pleasured by our small self. Why do I say pleasured? Yeah?
Well, there's a part of that, of what you're saying, that pleasure and pain both lead to pain. They're both pain. And so they're not, it's not love. There's no, and it's almost like we get like a sick, twisted, like, joy from this misery that we create.
Right, so if we go back to love and then to twisted love, what's pleasure?
Pain.
Twisted love. It's just that's pleasure. Y'all going for it? Is it working for you? And this is the problem. Pleasure is just twisted love. It's a shadow. It's back to the whole thing of the soup of the soup. It's a far echo. It doesn't work.
It's like an idol.
Yes.
It's like an idol.
Yes.
It's like a mistake of what God, it's like thinking that that's God.
Yes. Again, it's the misunderstanding of the character we've created to stay in the wrong understanding that pleasure is what we're after. So when I say happy, people usually say pleasure internally. pleasure. I get everything I want. People think when they go to heaven, they'll get all the things and they'll be happy and pleasured. Pleasured is not. How many people have indulged endlessly pleasuring and found happiness? You can't. It can't. All it does is it goes further down the road to a twisted, more and more twisted. It's not until we turn around. So, our first step is to start listening. And if we will not obey any of our outer teachers, we do not have a chance with our inner teacher. Why do we have to obey? And why do we have to listen?
Well, if everything's God, that stands a chance of being the right direction as opposed to the small self stuff you've been listening to.
Usually, do we listen or are we just thinking and feeling?
Right.
Yeah.
We're thinking and feeling. We think, feel, act. Think, feel, act. Think, feel, act. Think, feel, act. And wow, we're done.
And we love to create, so we'll just create something else.
Right, based on the character, to keep the character going.
Or convince ourselves that it's, like justifying why we do things and, just this is the right thing to do and...
Right, and who's deciding that? Right, the discerner, scary. So listening is such an important part. Because once we start listening, even if we start really listening inside to all of it,
starts sounding a little crazy.
Yes, we look like lunatics in there. We're not reasonable in there. Ever. But if we're only thinking and feeling, it's all reasonable. It's not until we start really listening that we go, oh my God, I actually acted and oh my God. So listening. If we think, then we are not listening. If we feel, then we are not listening. Go back. Let God speak. Let the Guru speak. And from there is where we should act. So what a lot of people don't want to accept is that in order to have love, we actually give up pleasure. And pleasure, as you said, is an idol. People worship pleasure. And so it's not going to be let go of easily. And pleasure is what the small self loves and is attached to and identified with. And so it calls that love. And it's never fulfilling. It never follows through. It never ends up, we never end up in happiness. We never truly, and we're always missing, missing again. I'm missing again. I'll do it, if I do it this way, then I'll be next time. No, it's always, it's just can't, because once we leave our true nature, it's already started to be twisted. Once we have left even to pure eye sense, we're already twisted. We're already not who we really are. This making sense? So love is something so different than feelings, than emotions, than ideas. And our job is to keep letting go and keeping going in. I wanted to read something else. This was Al-Ghazali. Is that how you pronounce him? Ghazali. The first step to self-knowledge is to know that thou art composed of an outward shape called the body, and an inward entity called the heart or soul. By heart, I do not mean the piece of flesh situated in the left of our bodies, but that which uses all the other faculties as its instruments and servants. In truth, it does not belong to the visible world, but to the invisible, and has come into this world as a traveler visits a foreign country for the sake of merchandise, and will presently return to its native land. It is the knowledge of this entity and its attributes which is the key to the knowledge of God. It's all there. And there isn't a tradition that doesn't express the heart in that way. There isn't anybody who isn't working. So do not take this lightly. When you use the word love, you mean it. Do not take the heart to be some superficial something. Do not take practice to be something you can just put a little picture on Facebook and say, love is. Woo. And you have a little swan or something. No. Do not take this lightly. Go into this. It takes practice, discipline, perseverance. It takes a long time. And it has the greatest value. And so, if God wants us to win, because in truth, there is no separation, then the key in every time, the key is always there. It's always there. It's here. It's every age, the key's been there. And it's just the question of whether you want to use it, whether you want it. In Vedanta, the longing for God is a requirement. You have to have it. But it's also earned. It's an earned trait. You have to go for this. So if we all want to be happy, then we all have to get to know who we really are. And that means we have to give up who we are not. Questions? Yeah.
I think there's an important distinction between love that is our nature and the love that is a fragment of twisted love that's juxtaposed against hate. And so you've got the sort of shrunken love that creates that dichotomy with hate, and that
right, that's
often what people mistake as
exactly that. Absolutely, that's the emotion love.
Right.
That is the personal affection, caring for, contractual, even the unconditional, but it's still personal.
Right. And so I think that's what a lot of people have is their goal if they want love. But then they feel that hate is more powerful, and so if that dichotomy goes back and forth. And
Right, exactly. You always, if you've got this, you're always going to have the other. We're not off the grid.
Right.
And so if I am positive thinker, I do affirmations, I do those little swans and cute little puppies and all that sort of stuff. If I do that, then in order to have everything right in the world, there's got to be somebody else doing the hate.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody out there doing the darkness. It's all based on dichotomies. You got to have that other component. Until I give up, own that I have both, and give them both up. But that's, again, giving up our individuality, giving up the personal, giving up our character. Because if my character, I've decided, is in a particular way, I will not give that up.
Exactly, because most people that tell me that their true nature is love, the way they say it and the way they're coming from it, instantly inspires hate.
Exactly. And how many people that you have that are loving, you want to kill?
Exactly.
Yes. Immediately rage comes up. Rage. And that's what they're expecting. That's what they actually want.
Well, because that only affirms them in their
Exactly.
small, their shrunken love.
Their shrunken love. And that does maintain and keep it. So in order to get rid of those kind of people, you own your own hate, which is fine, which in those situations looks very discerning, but the hardest part is own that gooey love. Because if we can see it, we have it. Yuck. And so that's the piece you have to own. And then they disappear. So that we accept the dichotomy within ourselves, let it go, and then we come back to who we truly are again.
Because I think a lot of people go for that, stay attached to wanting the feelings version because it gives them a rise.
Exactly. It's back to pleasure.
Yeah, exactly.
There's pleasure. And so that then we unfortunately, unless we're rooted in our true nature, will rise to the occasion, unfortunately, and play our part, which then everybody gets to feel that was not a good play. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else? Yeah.
Whenever you talk about everything coming from love, I always go to like evil. I always think of like there's certain things that it's hard for me to like feel is coming from love, or is part of God or something. And I know that's keeping a separation, but inside I still have to.
That goes back to the beginning where we talked about our wrong understanding, because somebody who is, each one of us, again, in this room, we'll have overlap, but each one will think what evil is different. It's not universal. And it goes back to Saint Simeon writing about the 3 levels of attention in prayer and talking about the heart, and that hold on, let me get it. Here it is. He wrote, "Therefore our holy fathers, hearkening to the Lord, who said, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies, and these are the things which defile a man. Hearing also that in another place of the Gospels we are instructed to cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may also be clean. Have renounced all other spiritual work and concentrated wholly on this one doing, that is, on guarding the heart, convinced that through this practice they would easily attain every other virtue whereas without it, not a single virtue can be firmly established. Okay, so what does that mean? Out of, it's in the Gospels, out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, theft, and on and on and on and on. What's that mean? Everything comes from the heart. Everything. That's where we get twisted. That's where the twisted love. Everything comes from the heart.
But it seems to me that if you live in the world and you have relationships
Mm-hmm.
and you interact, you're going to have twistedness.
Absolutely. Except for if you have, you're going to be aware of it. You don't have to be living in it.
And there's no attachment to it.
If you don't have any attachment, then you're not creating any issues. You're not creating, if you're not attached to the part you play, it may be received in a particular way, but that's not yours. You're non-attached. If you are living in your true nature, all the plays, everybody, you will see that everybody's playing their part and you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah. But there's still people in everybody's lives that they love unconditionally in terms of their children, perhaps, or in terms of anybody. It's an object. It's still an object.
There will be people karmically because of your character that you're going to be more attracted to because of your particular character. You're going to be more attracted to these people than to those people. Absolutely. Absolutely. There will be that karmically.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tend to be friends with this person. Yet, that's the diversity that still is going to exist. But there's the unity of where you're actually, so that you know, and you in the experience of the unity of the whole thing. And yet, you know your part is to play this, to be attracted. Oh, I really like this person, or I'm more. That's why, if you look at Baba had friends. He had fun with certain people. It wasn't like he didn't do that. There were people that he liked better than other people, no question. And there were people who looked at him and thought he was just a little old man. So everybody's going to be seeing according to, and he was playing, his part was the king. That was the part he played out. He was a king in a court. That's where we were. We were in the court of a king. That's not my part, but I played a part in the court of the king. And so, was he attached to being a king? No. But did he play his part? Yes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're all going to play our parts. We still play the part. That's what we're saying. We're still going to play our part. It isn't that all of a sudden, poof, we don't have a part anymore. No, we still are living out and going to play our part. It's how purified is our part. Purified is how disentangled are we from the part we play.
Can you review that just one, what the beginning steps of the separation? I know you've said it 9 times, but
Okay, you have to be able to listen. So you have to be the perceiver of the part. You cannot be in the part. If you're identified with the part, you can't get out of the part. And so you have to be absolutely aware, which is that going in, that turning around. You have to be listening and use the senses to see, oh, your interior senses, oh, this is my part. If I didn't say these words, would I still be me? And in some cases, your answer is no. And then, do I always do this? And hopefully you're going to say no. So that then it can't be universally me. It's not me. So what we start to do is slowly but surely disentangle from who we are not. And unfortunately, we might only get to oh, I'm not my job. I'm not my car. I change clothes, so it's not my clothes. So I'm not those outside objects. But we fail to address those interior instruments that totally are what create the prison house. We fail to address and note the vocabulary list that we are completely attached to. And we believe that the words we say are just truthful. They're just expressing ourselves. And everybody will say, oh, there they go again. Heard this a million times. And we don't see that we're saying it a million times. It's not until we go deep enough, we keep turning around and see, whoa, I've said this before. Where have I said this before? I've said this a million times. Is this the appropriate response, or is this my only response? A lot of times it's our only response. It's this, we just do this. We have very small parts. Our character is not so complex, though we think we are Oscar material. And that's what having to disentangle more and more to say, wow. And then the fear is, because I don't want to give it up, I'm going to be a blob. What makes you think you're not already a blob? You say the same lines over and over and over again. For most people, you're a blob. And God is so incredibly creative, even in the sense of what we call evil, so incredibly creative, never a blob. Never a blob. But people don't want to give up their precious individuality because they're afraid they're going to be blobs. Whoa. I mean, how bored are you?
Bored.
Not half as bored as
Everybody else.
everybody else. Yeah. You know, a lot of those sitcoms, how many people just click the next station? I've seen 1,000 of them. Don't want to see another one. Don't. I gotta tell you, click. Don't want to see it again. Seen it over and over and over and over. Same story over and over and over and over again. And it ain't such a great story. We are not Oscar material. None of us. Sorry. Though some of you think you are. But remember, you think you are. If you actually listened, you'd find out you're not.
So it seems to me then the first step is you may be doing all the same things that you did before. You may be complaining, you may be, but you just relating to it totally different. You just start, it's like you're watching yourself do it and you're like, oh, okay, well. And you'll do that, I guess, for a while until you could hear that there's something different that maybe needs to be done.
Sure. I always say that I was obnoxious before and I'm still obnoxious. Only it's purified obnoxious. So it is an experience the same.
Yes, I understand.
You understand.
So is that by you or by everybody?
By other people. I'm still as obnoxious. I still open my mouth the same way I opened my mouth before. And it wasn't received as well before.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's cleaner.
Is that what you mean by you don't your part doesn't change?
It doesn't. Some things do change.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always change. There are going to be parts that you are locked in and it's going to be your part.
And you will have misery from the part.
Exactly. Exactly.
Most important.
You know, the whole thing of wanting not to be obnoxious doesn't even then occur.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even an issue.
And
It's
the
just-
whole thing with relationships, I think, I guess, is what I'm hearing you say, is that they will just be given to you, and you'll be cleaner about what to do. So you're not driven by a need or a,
Right.
you know. So you're just even when you're in with a seed or or farmer or whatever. It's like all of a sudden you would be sort of like seeing that differently.
Yeah. You go, oh wow, I know this one.
Yeah.
I've done this play. I was a participant in this sitcom for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to play out and I'll have different lines now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to say the same lines I said 1,000 times. So I don't have to bore myself to death.
And that's a particularly hard area for us to say, I'd rather have nothing than this, because when you're in that, particularly in those kinds of relationships with the farmer,
Mm-hmm.
it's like
I usually, at
you're
this
hanging
point,
on for dear life.
Right. And you want it to be different. And you're trying to make it different, and maybe it'll work, and I can do this, and if I do that, and if I do that. No. Back out. Wow. Do I even need to be doing this at all?
Mm-hmm.
So lots of times that's when people will disappear, because they're only looking for another farm, somebody to farm for them. And if you are no longer a participant in that way and not willing to be a farmer, they'll go somewhere else to find somebody that's willing, and they'll be a teacher for someone else, because you learned your lessons. You graduated. Isn't that nice? See? Ain't that's so much better, huh? Unless you like to bore yourself and bore everybody else and do the same. Oh, God. This making sense? Mm-hmm. Back to the... So love is our nature. There is no object for this love. We live in love when we know that all is us. All is us. And we experience no difference from anything. So in terms of what you were saying, and also you in terms of evil, we experience in terms of functioning, we'll experience the unity all the time, and yet understand the diversity. So there will still be there's always the unity in the diversity. And that's how we'll function. So it goes back to the mad elephant story. And I'll close with that, even though I've said it a million times. The mad elephant, the guy goes to the guru, and the guru said, God's everywhere. Just like we were talking now. God is everywhere. God's everywhere. And the man goes and says, oh, God's everywhere. God's everywhere. Got it. So he leaves, he goes down the road, and a bunch of villagers come running and screaming, mad elephant, run for your life. And he just goes, God's everywhere. God's everywhere. Goes down the road. Another group of villagers, mad elephant, run for your life, mad elephant. He goes, God's everywhere. Keeps going down that road. Finally, the mad elephant comes, picks him up, twirls him around, and throws him into a ditch, and runs off. The villagers come back, find him in the ditch, put him on pick him up, carry him back to the guru, and he goes, oh, Guruji, you said that God was everywhere. And the guru says, what makes you think God wasn't in the villagers warning you about the mad elephant? We have to have discernment. So we are going to have different plays and parts. We are definitely going to have different plays and parts. And we're going to know that everything is love, but I'm not walking down the center of Reisterstown Road. Discernment. So that, again, when I would go and talk to Baba, all the vehicles would be gone. They weren't there. They were there, but they weren't being used. And you look into his eyes, and it was just the universe. And then I'd watch him pick them up. Oh, I'll pick up the tools, pick up the instruments, and then he'd engage with the world. Didn't mean that love wasn't all the way through. And that's what we want. We want to give up our individuality, give up our wrong understanding, and then we enliven those vehicles. And it's no longer twisted love. It's love. Okay? Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.